Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Kopi Hour Podcast. Grab a warm drink and have a seat. Today we're talking about how we taught ourselves to cook food so good we barely eat out anymore. Shelby, what are you drinking today?
We made matcha today.
That's right.
More green tea.
Yes.
Even though it's called the Kopi Hour,
we
we're
love
usually
tea.
drinking tea. But
I
the
don't
tea
drink coffee.
hour didn't seem as catchy.
Yeah, it didn't roll off the tongue.
But anyway, thanks for tuning into our second podcast. Special shout out to Eliza and Edwin who guessed this week's topic correctly on our Instagram page contest. For your chance at a shout out, follow us on Instagram at Kopi Hour Pod. Today we're going to talk about our experiences learning how to cook, how we learned to cook meals together, and some tips and tricks for cooking your own meals that are so good you won't want to eat out anymore. So, Tristan, let's start with you. How'd you learn how to cook?
So, cooking is a really big part of my family. Like, everyone knows how to cook.
Except you.
Except me. Oh, yeah. Usually, like growing up, I would see my grandma cook all my favorite dishes. More recently, my dad has been like the best cook. And I guess I really only started learning cooking like during high school. Because I kind of like needed to at least know how to cook something for myself because I really never bothered to learn.
I feel like that's a pretty common experience though for a lot of young people.
Yeah.
Like in America, I know you're not American, but I know a lot of, I can't tell you how many people in college I had to teach how to like cook or do laundry.
I know some people back in Singapore who also like around my age don't know how to cook anything. But I learned how to cook simple things like fried rice, how to fry an egg.
Anything fried, you got it.
Anything fried, yeah, you just throw it in a wok, it's done. But yeah, I guess I really only started to learn how to cook the different dishes when I moved in with Shelby's, which is like a few months ago. So
a lot more vegan cooking has happened.
Yeah,
since you moved in with me.
I mean, the technique and everything of cooking, I'm pretty sure like it's all starting to get to me like right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had a lot more experience cooking than you did. I mean, my family, of course, we're American, and so a lot of my cooking experience is like more traditional, like white American recipes. More specifically, like Southern cooking. A lot of my family lives in Appalachia or the South, so growing up, we made a lot of like, with my grandmother, we would make a lot of really rich, like desserts and like mashed potatoes and like really heavy greasy food, but that stuff is really fun to cook and it tastes amazing.
It's so good.
But I've gotten older and I was vegetarian for a few years and now I'm vegan, so I've had to really kind of find those substitutes and really adjust my cooking style. So in a way it's almost like I had to relearn how to cook, right? Because if I have a recipe, like let's say I'm like we made pancakes the other day.
Yeah.
And the recipe called for an egg. And I was like, okay, because when you're vegan, there's like 5 different ways you can like make like a fake egg essentially. I was like, I don't know what egg replacer to use. So it's like, it's not a whole different style of cooking. You just have to like kind of reinvent it. So in a lot of ways, I've had to refigure out how to cook, but also I don't know how to cook like Singaporean food, right? And so that's something that you've been able to teach me, even if you don't know exactly how to cook it. If we're cooking something, you're able to taste it and say, oh, that's right, oh, that's wrong.
Right.
So at least we have that baseline of, is this correct or is this not?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much a little bit about us. So let's talk about our motivation for learning how to cook.
Right.
We can't eat out very often.
I think it's a combination of the price of food here. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah, it's really expensive.
And also, as you know, it's COVID. And
it is COVID. That is fair.
Going out is...
You shouldn't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah,
if you're in the U.S., other countries, seems like it's okay, depending on where you are.
Yeah, depending on where you are, audience.
Yeah.
Make your own judgment.
Make your own judgment about what you should do.
You must be smart because you're listening on this podcast, so...
Yeah. But for me, I think a big COVID really forced me to get good at cooking.
Yeah.
Because I was like, there's no way that I am leaving this apartment. Like, back when COVID first started, I would only leave my apartment once every 2 or 3 weeks. Like, I would walk in the park, but, like, go to the store. once every 2 or 3 weeks, so I had to get really crafty. And then plus I'm vegan, which is actually a little bit easier in COVID because beans don't go bad.
Yeah.
You don't have to freeze them.
Yeah.
And you can eat them raw if you really needed to. But yeah, I mean, right now we're not eating out so much because it's expensive and we're both students living in a very expensive city. So let's just jump straight into some of our tips and tricks that we wrote. I don't know if this is going to be like a normal format on the podcast, but so far, for all 2 episodes that we've made, there have been 5 tips/tricks. So we'll see.
I think it's a coincidence.
So we'll see how long we can drag out this format. Great. So the first tip/trick that we wrote is figure out what you most frequently spend money on when dining out and see if you can replicate that at home, right? Because for us, a lot of times if we wanted to eat out, it was because there was something that we had to buy that we couldn't recreate ourselves, either because we didn't know how, or we didn't feel like it, or it was just easier to go out and get it. But I think for me, one big thing that we've done is like, the restaurants already did the hard work. Like the restaurants that you like, they already figured out what flavor combinations taste good together. So, you know, even if you can't create an exact replica of something that you would want to go out and buy, you can at least follow the lead of like this certain dish that you like to buy or whatever. And it doesn't mean that you need to prepare it exactly as you would buy it. Like something that a lot of vegans have to deal with when you go vegan is you're like, okay, I can't have dairy or meat or fish anymore. So you have to recreate those cravings for yourself. And that doesn't even necessarily mean like getting a mock meat. That might mean that, when I go to, when I go to Burger King and I get this thing from there, what part of it am I craving? Do I really like the texture? Do I really like this specific spice that I don't know why I use Burger King as an example.
Definitely has a very, very wide range of spice.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you need try and figure out what parts of this thing that you always go out and buy, what parts of it can you recreate at home? So you had a good example of this that you wanted to talk about.
Like, for me, avocado toast is like one of my favorite breakfast foods. And
very bougie.
Yeah, but
we're not even millennials. Can you believe that?
in Singapore, avocado toast is so expensive in restaurants. It's like, I don't know, 2 pieces of toast could be like $10 or something. So I was like, wow, this is too expensive. So I started buying avocados myself and just buying like multigrain bread and just slapping it together. And I saved, I don't know, like so much money.
It's probably half the price if you just made it at home.
Yeah.
But the thing about avocados is like they're very finicky. You know, when we first moved in, I like almost refused to have avocados in the apartment because I was like, they're either perfect or they're terrible.
Yeah,
you can't tell the difference. But we figured it out. We have a system now where we leave it in the cabinet until it's soft, and then you put it in the fridge.
Yeah, gross avocado is gross. It's terrifying.
To quote the great Tristan, a gross avocado is indeed gross. But an example that I had for me, which I feel like might resonate with a lot of people, is going out and buying coffee versus making coffee at home. And, you know, I'm not out here with the Dave Ramseys of the world who are saying that buying coffee out is what is, like, making your financial goals unattainable for you. That's a whole other podcast that we could talk about. But, yeah, so I stopped buying coffee out. I mean, purely just to save money. But what I figured out was that the reason why I wanted to buy coffee outside instead of just drinking what I had was because there were aspects of the coffee that I was making at home that I didn't think were very good. So what I did was I found like the perfect coffee creamer that I love, and I figured out, I actually don't really care about like necessarily like the highest quality coffee that I can buy. For me, it's like the creamer that makes all the difference. So because I was able to find that, I no longer like just feel the urge to go out and buy coffee all the time, right? So that's I mean, you know, I do drink instant coffee, which I mean, you know, please don't come for me in the comments or anything, but I mean, you know, I can buy $8 worth of instant coffee and it lasts me for 3 months, right? So, but my creamer is like $4 and I rebuy that every 2 weeks, right? I mean, it's still, you know, I'm still net saving a lot of money, but, you know, just being smart in how I do that. So let's move on to the next tip/trick.
It's about money. where you can save and where you want to splurge.
Yeah. So my coffee was kind of an example of that.
Yeah.
Like I save on coffee by buying instant, but then I buy the really nice creamer because that's what I am actually craving when I want a cup of coffee.
Exactly.
I found.
It's like a give and take, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, we go to a farmer's market for our produce because we appreciate, like, really high quality produce. But when we buy our, like, our shelf stable, is that what it's called?
Yeah, shelf stable
foods.
Mm-hmm.
We
like beans,
yeah,
or
beans,
like
rice.
almond milk, rice.
Yeah.
We just buy the generic.
We buy the generic non-name brand. And to all my I know a lot of families like to stick with one brand, one name brand, because they're like very loyal to it. But I mean, if it saves you money to buy the non-name brand, the generic brand, and there's really no big difference, then you should save money, right?
There probably actually isn't a difference. A lot of the time there isn't a difference aside from the fact that one is a name brand and one isn't, right?
Yeah.
And some studies have even shown that people prefer the generic over the name brand.
Really?
Yeah, but it's all in the marketing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
it really is all in the market.
Yeah, but basically our point is you don't need the highest end ingredients every time for every single dish, right? So you need to decide for yourself within your own budget parameters, okay, where do I want or need to spend a little bit more money, and where can I cut costs?
Right.
I mean, an example, so thinking about where we can save money, you can always go for something cheaper, something that will last longer, and something that will never go bad. So Tristan already talked about the non-perishable stuff, but buying, certain frozen fruits and vegetables, if that works for you, or
I buy frozen shrimp that I can just defrost in one day and then like fry up or whatever.
Yeah, and it's really not that expensive.
And it's
because
really
it's
good
frozen.
quality shrimp, yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Trader Joe's.
Shout out Trader Joe's. We could do a whole Trader Joe's podcast.
Oh,
Let
yeah.
us know down in the comments below
But
if anyone would be interested in a full-length Trader Joe's podcast.
We also buy dumplings, gyoza from
we bought shumai.
Yeah, I bought
we bought
shumai.
chasubao.
I bought chasubao, yeah, that's frozen as well.
And that's really convenient for us because you know how to cook, like, all of these things. They all have meat or fish, by the way, if you're not familiar with what we're talking about. They're like pork buns or like dumplings with other
pork.
kinds of meat inside or shrimp.
So it's all pork.
So it's really convenient for us because Tristan already knows how to do it and I don't have to touch any of it. And it's more just like it's just not for me. It's just like not my thing.
Pretty gross.
So, I let Tristan deal with it if he wants to have it. Or something else that you buy is like canned fish.
Yeah, I've been buying canned fish.
Yeah, like canned anchovies, canned tuna, because that will last forever.
I actually like canned fish a lot.
Yeah.
I think some people think like, oh, sardines in a can is like kind of gross, but I think it's like.
But you're
really
all about
tasty.
that, and it's a very convenient way. One, for you to get protein, and two, for it to be cost effective and non-perishable.
Don't come at me. They're good. And they're
don't come at us in the comments. We know that last podcast we said we would be confrontational. Please do not confront us on our eating habits.
Especially not me. But yeah, they're cheap. They're tasty, and you don't have to cook them. Just open up a can and eat them.
So, like, another example of... So, we already talked about how we splurge on produce. But another place where we, quote-unquote, splurge is in curry and curry packets. Because there's this really specific type of curry packet that's from Tristan's hometown. And so it gives the best flavor for the dishes that he wants to eat. So even though it costs more money, like, because it's culturally significant for you, we do that. Right, and that's why we're making the sacrifices in other places on our budget.
It's tasty.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
But yeah, they have to get shipped all the way from Singapore, so that's why the cost is pretty high, the shipping costs and all that.
Yeah, so that's the end of tip number 2. Is just figure out what places you can save money, and if you need to splurge on certain places, we're just encouraging you to think about it in terms of like a give and take.
Yeah.
Not everything needs to be like the best or the fanciest. A lot of times you can just stick to generic unless you need something that's not generic.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we do.
Yeah, that's definitely what we do.
Yeah. So, those first 2 tips were really finance heavy. So now let's talk about the actual process of cooking. Let's get into it. All right. Let's get Remy into our hat. Let's put him in there. Gordon Ramsay enters the room, stage right.
That's right.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Okay, so Our third tip: prepare all your ingredients beforehand.
Beforehand, the ones that you can.
And this is a tip that I have to remember every time I cook because I never do it. I always
He will literally be cutting the scales off of a fish, and I'll be doing homework and be like, Shelby, can you come bring me a plate? And he's covered in fish scales. It's so gross.
I always forget to bring out a plate or bring out a spice or a sauce, or I don't know. I'm a mess. But,
you're just still learning.
But yeah, especially if
even we're still learning. We're not pretending to be the authority
we are
here.
not authority.
Okay, we are not the authority. Did you read our bio? We are not qualified.
We are not experts.
We're just offering our personal experience.
But yeah, especially if you're doing something like a stir fry, and where stir fries are very fast, you throw everything in one pot, pan or wok.
You gotta get that wok. Hey.
Yeah. And you're tossing it all together.
Shouts out Uncle Roger.
Oh my god. You need to prepare all your stuff beforehand because you're gonna be cooking fast, right? But yeah,
or even if you're not cooking fast, let's give us as an example. So we're both students. I'm a grad student. Tristan's undergrad. So we're both really busy all of the time. But it's almost been in a lot of ways. Online schooling for the two of us has been challenging, but one advantage that we have is it does give us a lot more opportunities for cooking. So for example, I have been known to, in between my 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. classes, I'll chop all the veg that we need for whatever we're cooking for dinner that night. That way, as soon as I get done with class, or even if I'm in class and Tristan's not busy, he can start cooking.
Right.
And it just makes things so much faster. Or let's say we're cooking rice for some dish. We will always cook an extra cup of rice, and then that way you have it. That way
you have
it. Shouts out Arrested Development. but that way you have it so that, the next day for lunch or something, you're really busy, you're in between meetings, you're oh gosh, what can I have? Oh, I already have a bunch of rice cooked. Oh, okay, let me just, stir fry these veg and then add some tofu on top and eat it.
I would say don't be afraid to make yourself more than you can eat, because you can always eat leftovers and it will save you time to cook. And,
it's just about economizing your time, making the most out of your time.
Yeah,
and if you can prepare something ahead of time, you're gonna make your life easier. Think about, your time is really valuable, especially if you're, for everybody. In our case, we're working and living from home. Yeah. So even though we're home all of the time, it's not we're constantly busy.
Oh yeah.
So, and that could also, if you're a meal prep type person, it can translate into that. When I was an undergrad, I would meal prep all of the time. On Sunday, I would cook 2 sweet potatoes and a bunch of rice and some tofu, whatever. Mm. And then when I would be packing my lunch for school the night before, I already have everything prepared, and I can just kind of throw it together in a bunch of different ways. You don't even have to eat the same thing all day every day, but if you have a bunch of things that are already ready to go, it's so much easier for you to throw something together that you like.
Yeah.
Right? So just anytime you're cooking, just kind of thinking about the next day or the next 2 days, is there something that I can do right now that's going to help future me? And that just makes it so that your meals are probably a little bit more nutritionally dense. They're going to taste better.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel better about eating them. Right.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Number 4.
All right.
Why don't you take away with this anecdote?
So this tip, don't be afraid to try something new.
Even if it fails.
So... So my story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Of my failed, I tried to make katsu.
Now explain what katsu is.
Katsu is it's breaded. It's something deep fried with panko breadcrumbs around it.
Yeah, it's Japanese.
So you could do pork katsu, or
you can do
tofu katsu if you wanted. Mushroom katsu. Yeah. So in this case, I did I did shrimp katsu. Yeah. But I forgot to season my breading. So it was just straight up breadcrumbs
on it,
on my,
not even any
shrimp.
Salt.
There was no salt or pepper or whatever. So I'm a genius. And
so
stuck it in the oven. I took a bite after it was done, and I was like, wow, it was really good, but why is it not tasty?
You had to put so much sriracha on it to make it work.
Yeah, but I mean,
or like another time you also tried to make katsu with mushroom.
Yeah.
And you pan fried it.
Yeah, I did pan fried
And
it.
when you're making a vegan breading, there's a couple different ways you can do it.
Yeah.
Now with the shrimps, you used what's called a flax egg. So
Yeah.
you take flax seed and you mix it with water, and that worked perfectly. But with the mushrooms, what we decided to do was we were like, we'll use no. Let me we'll use
no.
okay, fine.
The recipe I found online said use vegan yogurt.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the only vegan yogurt we had was a coconut yogurt that
Yeah.
was vanilla flavored.
Okay, but it was unsweetened yogurt. So
it had vanilla, but it
so
was
it had
not
that-
sugary.
It had that vanilla taste,
the
right?
umami,
Without
if you will.
yeah, but without the sweetness.
Yeah,
So
it was so
You would-
gross.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, but this one was mushroom, so I actually tried this
But-
one, and it there was a lot of vanilla.
The texture was
in
perfect.
there.
It was
Yeah,
so crispy.
we will say
and
the
crunchy.
texture was good.
But
You got
it just
great. The
tasted
mushrooms tasted
like-
amazing.
but it just tasted like vanilla. So
Yeah, so it just goes to show you that like cooking is just like anything else.
it's a process.
You do need it's a process, and you do need to practice it.
Yeah.
And so now when Tristan makes katsu, he's very confident. He knows how to do it because honestly, just like anything else in life, the best way to learn is often from you messing something up
Right.
and then kind of learning the hard way.
oh,
No,
for
I would
sure.
hardly call it learning the hard way Tristan not putting salt in his like fried shrimp, right? Like that's hardly like learning something the hard way. But you don't do that anymore.
No, I always remember to season that. So it did teach me a lesson.
And another key part of don't be afraid to try something is also like know your limitations.
Yeah.
So this also goes back to the katsu
You're not
story.
going to be Gordon Ramsay after the first 2 times you cook.
Yeah,
right?
you know,
It's like,
sometimes you're gonna get burnt. Sometimes
Yeah.
you might,
mess
injure
something up,
yourself
or you like
so severely that you can't go to class that night. I mean, I'm not talking for personal experience. This is a hypothetical. Hypothetically speaking, that might happen.
Shelby has not cut her thumb.
That
before.
has never
No,
happened.
it's,
But no, explain what happened when you put the katsu on the stovetop instead of
oh
in the
yeah.
oven.
So because we live in such a small place.
I mean,
like,
our coffee shop is so little.
Yeah, it's a small place, right? And we
Yeah.
have one tiny little vent on the top of our kitchen.
But it doesn't suck up any
doesn't
of the
do
thing. It
anything.
just blows it straight back into the
Yeah,
apartment.
it really doesn't do anything. So when we were trying to deep fry, it was getting really smoky.
Yeah.
We had to open up all the windows and everything.
It,
And
it was
it's-
really bad. Like, we
it
smoked
stayed
out our
smoky
apartment
for like
for like
next
at least 2 hours.
and the
It was
smell of like the
awful.
of the
Of
vanilla.
the vanilla was like hanging in the air. It was so nasty. But Tristan was really proud of
I was.
because
It was-
the katsu is actually not bad. Like, it fried up really well.
I thought it was tasty. I thought it was really good.
I put some sriracha on it, and it was
Yeah.
fun.
Sriracha
it's like,
really does save.
It's like
every
A1
dish.
sauce for any of you Americans out there. It just masks the flavor.
Yeah, sriracha really does save a dish.
So I mean, we're not out here wasting food. We are very conscious to not waste food.
Yeah. But
so we still
like,
ate it. But
we're not gonna do that again because it smoked up our apartment for way too long and
yeah, and
we
then
were
it smelled like mushrooms and vanilla.
yeah. Well,
It was
we did the
really
same.
gross.
We did the same thing before with we tried to cook like blister like shishito peppers on the stovetop.
Oh, that was awful.
Because we
Yeah.
don't have a grill.
So I was like, yeah, just put it on the skillet. It'll be
and-
totally fine. It was not totally fine.
This actually worked.
Yeah.
The shishito peppers were delicious.
Yeah, they're really good.
But
But
it was smoky for like 2 hours.
yeah, it was a little too
So,
smoky in here.
yeah.
So like now we know that we can't fry stuff.
Yeah.
Really. Like, I mean, we can do like fried rice or whatever.
No, but we can't,
But
like,
you
deep
can't
fry
like deep
things.
fry anything because it will be smoky and it's gonna stink up the place
Yeah.
for a while. And especially as we're moving into winter and it's gonna be super freezing
You
cold.
can't afford to open your
We
windows.
can't open the windows. Like, in the summer, it's uncomfy, but it's all right. In the fall, you almost want to open your windows. But in the winter, it's like, sorry. Like,
Especially
if
not
it's...
me. I'm a tropical boy.
He is a
so
tropical island boy.
I'm already struggling in fall weather.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, and then our last tip/trick is to ask for recipes from different people,
Yeah.
right? So if you know, Tristan was talking about how, you know, he has his memories of watching his grandma cook stuff. And, you know, he could ask her for recipes, or if you ever, like, went over to your friend's house and they cooked you something amazing, ask them, oh, how did you do that? Right? And you can always modify things, but...
Like you have a lot of recipes from, like, your family, don't you? Or, like, from your friends?
Yeah, I do. Because I don't have any recipes from my family, but I remember how to make things. Or shouts out Eliza's mom, because she had some amazing vegan recipes, and I asked Eliza for them, right? But yeah, so it's really about just figuring out the kinds of foods that you want to be eating regularly, and then bringing your skills to match that. Yeah. Right.
Like, let me tell you, in my family, every time we talk over, like, FaceTime or whatever, we talk about food. We talk about, like, what we're eating for dinner, what we just cooked. We show each other the food in the video.
Yeah, like whenever Tristan FaceTimes his family, they do it over a meal, and they show each other what they're eating. Like, it's such a central component of, like, what your family does and how they talk about things. Yeah. And that's just not my experience, because I feel like in the same way that a lot of, like, white Americans, we really like commoditize our time. Like, our time is really valuable. We don't have a lot of time to be doing this. So I feel like, you know, for me culturally, it's more like growing up, we would treat food as something that, oh yeah, you eat when you're hungry. Yeah. Like, just eat something so that you can move on to the next thing. And we would eat at, like, 5 p.m. Right? But that, you know, for me, that was normal. It's like, oh yeah, you just eat so that you're not hungry anymore. Yeah. But for you, that's totally different.
Yeah, we always eat meals together as a family.
And it's, like, a really fulfilling experience for you all.
You know, we always, like, wait for, like, I always waited for my parents to come home before eating dinner with my sister. So, like... It's
not
like
just something that you do when you're hungry. It's like a family moment.
It's a family thing.
No, it's not like every lunch you need to eat together.
No, I mean,
but dinner is, like, so important.
It's very important.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And also, in terms of asking for recipes, don't be afraid to make substitutions if you want to or if you need to. Like, I would never recommend, like, let's say you have a recipe and you need something that's really specific, or that it's gonna go bad really fast, or that you've never cooked with before and you, like, don't know how to do it. I never buy that part of the recipe. I'll always try and substitute it either for something that I already have or something that I know that I'm gonna be able to use up fully. Right? I mean, first of all, that's just more, like, eco-friendly and responsible. You don't want to buy something that you're just going to waste. Yeah. But two, it's also a way for you to save money.
Like, don't buy truffle butter, like, a pound of truffle butter for, like, one recipe.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to eat that shit every day.
I don't... First of all, so many questions. I don't know where we would buy that. I don't know what that is.
Truffle butter?
Yeah.
It's just, like, truffle-infused butter.
Is it, like, the oils in the butter, or is it, like, chunks of truffle are in there?
I don't know.
I guess this is just purely a hypothetical situation.
I assume it's butter and it tastes with, like, truffle. So
great.
I mean, you've had truffle, right? I mean, it's like...
I've had it, like, a handful of times. It's a little too rich for me.
It is very rich, yeah.
But you know, the whole point is, like, make the recipes work for you. You know, so if there's just some part of it that, for example, I didn't like mushrooms until very recently. So if I ever had a recipe that called for mushrooms and it wasn't like a mushroom soup or whatever, just take it out. You don't need it. Yeah. Make the recipes work for you. Yeah. It's just about being a little bit creative with it. And just you don't have to overcomplicate it. Like, most of our dinners are, like, if we're cooking, like, Western style, which means, like, American food, if we're cooking, like, American food, a lot of the times it's gonna be, like, one example that we cook a lot is maybe we'll make, like, a pasta dish, and then I'll put some vegetables in the oven, and I'll coat them with, like, olive oil, salt, pepper, garlic powder, done. Yeah. And we don't have to hardly do any work for it, right? So it's not even, like, it's complicated, it just, you know, it just takes that little bit of prep that we were talking about. It takes just a little bit of forethought about, okay, what's in my fridge? What's going to go bad soon? Let's eat that now, right? There's just a lot of things to consider, but we hope that that was the last of our tips. We hope that these tips and tricks were helpful, and we hope that they're not overwhelming. We wanted to make this podcast because, like we talked about at the beginning, we've seen a lot of our friends who are our ages struggle with learning how to cook.
Right.
And, like, they don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
They don't know what tools they need. They don't know that, like, something that you would do a lot at the beginning was, if I gave you a recipe, you would follow it, like, to the 9. Like, you would follow it, like, exactly and very precisely. Whereas when I cook, I wasn't taught to cook that way.
No, I wasn't taught to cook that way either.
Yeah, but, you don't... For me, I rarely follow a recipe.
yeah, for sure. Like, don't, every recipe is, like, situational, I feel. Like, you need to, like, really, in there's a Bahasa Malay word called, aga, I think. It means, like, you just, how to say, you put a little bit of taste, like, you really, like, feel it out.
Yeah, that's the best way.
And that's how I learned what cooking was, really. That's a big part of it. But yeah. Why don't we talk about some of our favorite recipes that we cook?
Our favorite recipes? Yeah. Okay, we make laksa, which is amazing. Laksa, can you describe laksa for the folks at home? Yeah.
Okay, well,
I feel like I'm gonna describe
I
it
have
wrong.
to be very specific because there are different kinds of laksa.
Okay.
But we cook a kind of asam pedas. It's like a sour, spicy soup or curry, and we add noodles. We throw in tofu or
bean sprout.
Bean sprout.
Yeah, if you can just imagine, like, a soup that has, like, a very strong kind of, like, lime flavor.
Yeah.
And then you put seafood inside of it
sour,
with some noodles.
Salty, spicy.
That's like a vast oversimplification, and I feel like a lot of your relatives who listen to our podcast are going to be like, how dare she disparage laksa?
There are different kinds of laksa.
Well, I'm explaining the kind that we make, which is from your hometown. Like, Singapore does it different, parts of Malaysia do it different, right? Everybody does it different, but at the end of the day, it's like a soup with seafood in it that is a sour flavor with noodles.
This is no like chicken chow mein, okay? This is
no
legit.
General Tso's chicken, all right?
This is legit.
This is the real deal.
What else? One of my favorite things that we cook is your gnocchi recipe.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, everyone, listen up. Okay, gnocchi, never boil it. Okay, pan fry it. 10 to 12 minutes until it's golden brown. You will never go back. You will never go back. Put a little bit of oil in that pan. Get a little bit of store-bought sauce. Add some extra whatever spices you want. Put it together. Amazing. Yeah. Will never disappoint. Everyone will think that it took you so long, but really it cost you $7 max, and it took you less than 10 minutes to make.
But it tastes like a restaurant level pasta dish. And I'm telling you, pan-fried gnocchi it will change your life.
Game changing.
It will change your life.
Something that we've been doing more recently is, I'm not a huge fan of mock meat, just because I would prefer to have either, like, beans or tofu or lentils or something. That's just my taste preference. But we've been using Beyond Beef lately, and then we make like a ragu type sauce. So we grind up the patties and we combine it with sauce.
And we use rigatoni pasta.
Yeah, and
it's like penne but fatter.
Yeah, it's like really thick.
Yeah.
This pasta is an absolute unit. Okay,
it is an absolute unit.
That is how large
That's
these.
Right.
These...
That's right, Shelby. It's an absolute unit. Is that what you want to hear?
Is that Roddy from Flushed Away, or is that Gordon Ramsay?
It's neither. I can't do Gordon Ramsay.
Okay, well, anyway, yeah, that was our podcast on how we taught ourselves to cook food so good we barely eat out anymore. Yeah, but when we do eat out, what are our favorite places? We love Nando's.
Oh yeah, Nando's. If you got Nando's in your place where you live.
In the air that night.
Yeah, Nando's. Nando's is great.
Yeah. For all of you who don't know it, Nando's is like It's chicken, but they do have a couple of vegan things there that I can get. Like
it's like spicy.
It's called peri peri.
Yeah, the spice is called.
So it's
peri
like
peri.
Portuguese and South African spices
They
to
use
make
this,
chicken.
This thing called the bird's eye chili, and it's wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The sauce will change your life.
Will change your life.
If you can buy the Nando's peri peri sauce, you just
game changing.
Throw it on anything.
We put it on everything, and it's amazing.
Like we did like a stuffed peppers recipe, and with quinoa, peppers,
black
salsa,
beans.
black beans.
That was another thing that was so easy, and we cooked it ahead of time.
Yeah.
We literally just cooked the quinoa, and then everything else you can just have raw. And so you take all the raw ingredients, and you put it in a bowl, and we put it in the fridge. Like, we prepared it in the morning. Then when we were ready to cook at night, we took it out, and we were already ready to go.
Yep.
So, time saving. If you're in Philadelphia or DC, you can try out Hip City Veg for all my veg friends out there.
Yeah, good.
Really tasty.
Great vegan burgers.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Even Tristan likes it.
I do like it.
And he's omnivorous, so
Omnivorous.
That makes you sound like a dinosaur.
Yeah,
We should do a dinosaur podcast. For all of you who don't know, Tristan's really big into dinosaurs.
Oh, I love dinosaurs.
So we can do a whole podcast on dinosaurs.
I love
we'll have a lot of visuals, but that will only be helpful for me and not any of you.
Yeah.
Because this is an audio format.
I went to Salt Lake City just to see dinosaurs, which is like... Which is awful, because why would you go to Salt Lake City? No, I'm joking. But,
Yikes. I hope no one from Salt Lake City is watching. We need to... Okay, here. Shouts out Salt Lake City. There we go. Now it's even. Because we give them a shout out. Okay. And then we confronted them. All right. Which is really our style.
Yep. Awesome.
Okay, well, anyway, thanks for tuning in to our second podcast. Stay tuned for next Saturday, where our topic is... Undecided. We don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. What are we gonna
Leave us in the comments down below. Leave us ideas of what you want us to talk about. Go follow us on Instagram at Kopi Hour Pod.
It's in the description.
It's in the description. Link in the description.
Link in the description.
Comments are below the description.
And hit that subscribe button.
Hit the subscribe button. At the time of recording, we're at 9 subscribers. So thank you to all 9 of our subscribers.
I think we have more than 9.
Well, hopefully we have more than 9 by the time that this is published. But as of recording, we have 9.
Okay.
But we also want to thank everybody who tuned in to the first podcast. At the time of recording this, we had 112 views!
And we got a lot of positive feedback, which is really great.
Yeah.
And,
so thanks to everybody who tuned in and who gave us some feedback. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next week.
See ya!